So we call it manifesting or we call it neuroscience. You don't want to wobble. You want to move from confidence to conviction. One great thing about the Middle East is that people are so warm and friendly. One of the best things while networking that you can do is, you know what? I actually know someone that could help you. Psychological safety is the #1 predictor of success on the team.
Hello and welcome to Bet Talks, powered to you by 0x Processing. I'm Rick Goz and I'm joined by a special guest. She is an entrepreneur, sales and operational performance expert. She's a public figure and she's recognized for the 2024 Rising Star Award at the Arab Women's Awards. Rola Diab, welcome to Bet Talks.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant, brilliant. This has been a long overdue episode that we've been talking about for a while, but good to have you here.
Thank you.
For sure. How's 2025 treating you?
You know, it seems to be a consistent statement from the people that I'm surrounded by that it's already incredible. There's so many things happening. We're very lucky to be in Dubai.
We are.
And the opportunities seem to be flooding in so far. So,
Don't you find yourself is that if you spread that energy and that constant good vibes, things happen.
That's how we program the matrix.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. I found myself constantly constant good energy flying around. And there's so many brands that's like, listen, we want to work with you, or we want to invite you here, we want this, we want that. So, and there's so much going off in Dubai. There's so much going off. I mean, 2024 was such a big year. Rising Star. Tell me more about this award that you won. I mean, it's pretty big, huh?
Yeah, you know, I'm so lucky and grateful for that because I started building my presence in Dubai at the beginning of 2024 because I hadn't moved here until like later in the year.
You're a newbie.
Yeah, halfway through the year. But I made sure I made a presence coming to Dubai, spending 40 days at a time and introducing them to the work that I've been doing. And they were really... They really appreciated the work around the Breaking Cinderella program, which is heavily about internal leadership, how we cultivate and create the internal power that you're discussing. But how do you do that? And how do you direct it to the things that you're looking to create? Because many of us move through the world and think, okay, I'm going to get power when I'm part of that world, that job. Maybe when I'll have power when I marry that man or that woman. Or I have to be in that circle, on that yacht, at that party, that watch, that house, right? Whatever it is, we've given power to those things. And we flip that narrative and assign and create internal power by calling it in, creating certain ways of thinking.
Manifesting, right? It's a manifestation.
That's an aspect of it. Manifesting is heavily directly connected to neuroscience, so we can link those very easily. So we call it manifesting or we call it neuroscience.
Same thing?
Yes.
Same but different, yeah?
Yes. Described differently, but same.
Brilliant. Okay, fantastic. And obviously, I mean, you have come into the UAE and made a huge impact. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
With obviously hard work and persistence and consistency.
Yes, a lot.
Which, I mean, this is my 6th year coming up in Dubai, and just consistently and persistent. People always say to me, Rick, how is it you do what you do? And I say, I'm just consistent and persistently keep doing the right things right. And eventually them opportunities come into place. So obviously you only came to Dubai in 2024. How are you finding it merging from the US into the UAE?
You know, I think growing up in Riyadh was helpful to come back to the Middle East because I've been in the US for over 20 years now, and I would have thought it would have been a bigger adjustment, but I got here and it really felt like home. Between all the expats that live here, the multicultural global environment, there's nothing that we're lacking. Literally anything you want is here. And, you know, I struggle with this concept because I want to tell everybody on the planet how amazing it is and there's no better place on earth. And at the same time, I want to be like, no, stay where you are because we're good. We don't want to, like, you know, overdo it over here because it's so good right now. I don't want to mess with it.
Yeah, of course, for sure. So, I mean, listen, if you are missing a bit of Miami, just go to Marina. It looks exactly the same.
No kidding. It really does. It's like copy-paste almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's exactly the spitting image.
Yeah,
when I first came to Dubai, I moved to Marina, I was like, this just looks like Miami.
It does.
Exactly the same.
Yeah.
A little bit cleaner, but yeah.
Cleaner. We have cooler places, to be honest, here. We've got beach clubs that Miami doesn't have. Rooftops that Miami doesn't have. We've got a lot of things that Miami's actually lacking.
Yeah. So here at Bet Talks, we discuss everything from gaming / gambling, crypto, everything emerging tech, mainly within the UAE. Now, obviously, the UAE is rapidly growing on and expanding daily. Now, I know you're sales and operations performance expert. Now, explain to me what that title means. What is the foundation of that?
So I was in sales for a very long time in the beginning of my career, and I did very well. And when the couple times that I didn't do well, I can tell you exactly why. The last company I worked for at the time sold, I started a sales training company because it made the most sense. I've done really well in it. So I went through the Kellogg sales training program. It's a business school out of Chicago, and built my program. And I started doing really well with that. I picked up Fortune 500 companies, multi-billion-dollar businesses, and I was training their executives. And I got great feedback because I was not just incorporating structural processes on how to be great at sales, because even though that's necessary, the bigger part of being successful at anything, let alone sales, is the intention of what I'm leading with, how I show up energetically, because my energy speaks before I do. Correct. That intuitive feeling when somebody knows they want to work with me, or if they're like, something doesn't feel right? I'm training people how to acknowledge and then present themselves with the intention that supports that, from confidence to conviction, ultimately. So it started with sales. I did really well. I moved it into business consulting. I brought on 10 business coaches. 2023, I actually ended up getting recruited by a brand in Miami, $100 million brand, to be the president of their company. They were having some trouble and they needed some help. And so I came in, helped clean up their operations, never to be a long-term thing, always kept my consulting practice. Once I cleaned that up, I basically, after that, spent the rest of my time in Dubai. And that's essentially the whole story. It's like one thing led to another, and because I was doing well in different, and I was speaking in front of corporate, I started to get invited to speak at different events with my business consulting company, and I brought 10 people on. I did that in 3 months. I built that piece of the business in 3 months, 6-figure business within 3 months, 10 coaches. And the reason I did it that fast at all is because someone put the challenge in front of me, like, do it in 3 months. I was like, done, I'm going to do it. So I set an intention to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't even have been a thing. But that got me onto stages, and that is honestly how I would say my speaking career really started to take off. And I got invited to more and more things.
Of course. I first saw you at the AI and Web3 conference. I saw you there, and then I reached out. I thought you was great. I thought it was a great event as well. What advice would you give to up-and-coming females within the tech space? I think that's a good question, because, I mean, you're very advanced. You're very confident on stage. What advice would you give to especially women within the tech space?
I would say the most important thing that anyone does at all is go through a process to build confidence and then get to the confidence. But the challenge with confidence is you can wobble. Something happens, you're wobbling. You don't want to wobble. You want to move from confidence to conviction. When you are standing in conviction, that's when you close business. That's when people are inspired around you and they're like, you know what, there's this power around you, or that they tell you things like this because you're in conviction. And it's not this need for anything, because you know that you are getting it done. You've got the expertise, like whatever it takes that you need to analyze to get yourself to conviction. I would spend the 90% of my time on that. And, skill set and whatever you feel is necessary, because maybe you're not quite there, build that so that you can get to conviction.
Incredible. Yeah, I agree. So obviously you've done this transition. You came from 20 years of experience in the US now to obviously the UAE. Do you see a difference in business?
Oh yeah, for sure.
In a good way or a bad way?
Not good or bad. Good in both.
Both.
And then I would say more challenging on each side. So one great thing about the Middle East is that people are so warm and friendly. They'll be like, yes, come meet, come join, come be a part. They're not holding their Rolodex or their contact lists, and hiding it. They're very open and warm and inviting to from that perspective.
I agree
so
on that,
that's fantastic. It's not like that in the US. Even people that are close to you are still doing
Same
that.
as in the UK as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's closed book.
Much more
Yeah,
closed book, because
book,
it's not, you don't want to do that for whatever reason. It's much more protective. So that's amazing about the Middle East.
Yeah.
The warmth and the open invitation type
Whenever
of
you
experience.
meet someone's always got someone else for you to meet, and it's a chain of stuff.
Totally. Yeah, that's phenomenal. The difference that I say has been an adjustment for me is we move much faster in the U.S. We met, let's talk business, right?
Yeah.
Here, I'm like, wait, how's your mother, your daughter, your kids, your cousin, your dog?
14 meetings
Right,
later.
like, wait, are we okay? Can we maybe talk about business now?
Yeah.
And I'm not good at that. So
No.
because I'm so trained to like move quickly and be more, that US mentality. So that, I noticed it right away and have been adjusting. So working on that.
Of course. Don't you find one thing as well, timekeeping is terrible here?
Oh my God. I thought it was just me. Is that not just me?
No, it's terrible.
Oh my God. Yes.
It's like, people turning up 35, 45 minutes late is not acceptable.
No, definitely no. I mean, for me, if you're on time, you could potentially label that as late. Because if you're not a few minutes early, you're late.
Yeah.
So I'm usually very punctual, but I find there are times here that I lose track of time because there's so much going on.
Yeah, there is. And I mean, yes, the traffic is terrible. And everyone knows the traffic is terrible.
It's expected in every big city, New York, Chicago, LA, every city Miami, traffic's horrible. Every city that's a major city.
So generally you should plan ahead. And you
Of course. But I live in DIFC, so anytime you leave DIFC, you better be prepared.
Yeah, of course, it's terrible. So, I mean, that is one thing that does make me a bit mad, to be honest, within Dubai. It's the whole blasé of we're 35, 45 minutes late, and I'm thinking, no, like, I've got strategies, I've got commitments that I need to be to. So, but yeah, listen, I mean, onwards and upwards. So, another question which we always ask, which I always ask to all of our guests here at Bet Talks. Now, what's your thoughts on networking, and how do you maximize the benefits throughout your career?
Well, things like networking is what gets me everywhere, to be honest. I mean, it's through other people. Everything we do is because of a person, right? Literally everything. So if you can maximize your inner circle, and I'm the kind of person that when I meet people, I hear this for a long time, they're like, oh, I feel like I've known you forever, and they tell me so much information. They're like, I've never told anyone this, and I'll tell you why I believe that's true. Because one, obviously I'm kind and all the normal things that you should be doing when you're meeting somebody, but I'll tell you what I think people miss. Energetically, internally, my internal conversation is always to come from non-judgment. I do not judge. I hold on to no resentment or anger. So that's not in my energy field. You're not feeling that heaviness. So when I meet people, they feel this sense of safety around me because
they're comfortable with you. Yeah.
Very comfortable because there's zero judgment. And I tell myself discernment is one thing, judging is another, right? Discerning, paying attention to the things that you need to pay attention to guide you to move away or towards someone, that's a thing, but not to judge it. And I think that's a really important piece when networking is to come into a space with the intention of being very open-minded and curious. The more curious you are about other people, the better for you, because it's a service mentality. The worst thing that we can do in networking is go out into a space and I'm here for my own self. One of the best things while networking that you can do is, you know what? I actually know someone that could help you. And if you come from that, I guarantee you every time it's going to come back. It always does.
Always comes back,
but if in a networking environment, it's not just about me, but it's my network. And I've got a few people in mind that I know I could connect that are currently looking for things. Like I have a mastermind group. I know each person in our mastermind is looking for certain things. So I'm paying attention when I meet people, whether or not I can connect them.
How often do you have the Dubai talk of how long have you been here, blah, 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 blah? It's very repetitive.
It is.
It is very repetitive. I try to stick to certain events which actually can maximize me, because as you know yourself, there's an event every single day here in Dubai, especially when high season kicks in. In the next 2 months, well, a month, 2 months, every single night there will be something happening. It's just the start of the year now. I mean, there's a build up to everything, but come February, all the events will start. So I think my advice to people is to maximize your time correctly. I always think that sort of being everywhere and being at everything is not always the best idea. You can waste a lot of time.
and you'll burn out. I can't do that. And I'm an extrovert and I can't do that. You are an extrovert on a whole nother level, but I've never seen anyone like you.
I've been told that many times.
Yeah, but for the normal people, I think it's important to
So I'm not normal.
You're definitely, you're on the high side of the spectrum for sure.
Are you hearing this? Yeah?
There's
and
no
this
doubt.
is live on camera as well. Yeah,
Listen, always honest.
yeah, of course.
So balancing, because self-care more than anything, if you're starting to burn out, you're not presenting your best self, right?
Yeah.
We need to come with an energy that has like that power or that conviction, that presence. And just by that energy, people will want to work with you, right? You don't need the perfect words. They help. Not that there's any perfect words, but the energy behind it is even more important.
Yeah.
So I've got to be able to show up at my best. And sometimes it's often saying no. I don't go to a lot of things. I pick and choose.
Okay, so I know that you was at one of the Mind Valley events in Dubai. Tell me more about this conference and sort of what it entails.
There were a few. So Mind Valley, for those who don't know, it's a self-development platform with 100 programs that help you from everything from business coaching to self-development strategies across the board. So Vishen, who's the founder, puts on these events, and it happened to be in the last 2 weeks, 2 events in Dubai, the Future Human event and the Masters of Manifesting event. So I spoke at one of them, and my subject actually was on a strategy that I recently came up with that helps eliminate limiting beliefs in 5 minutes. And we talked about high performance and how we show up, and how between high performance and limiting beliefs, if you can remove some limiting beliefs, you're going to accelerate your performance, right? And so I've come up with this strategy to do it in 5 minutes, and I'm still testing it. We're 9 weeks in, and it's been amazing so far. I literally just wrote a TED Talk because I'm going to submit for it. But when we look at high performance teams, we start with, internal alignment and how we show up in the world, because if we can get very clear on that and build awareness, we can accelerate our results. Now, when we look at performance, since we're very business oriented, there's actually a study done called the Aristotle Project by Google, where they took 180 of their teams and wanted to understand which teams, why are these teams doing so much better than these teams? And so they went through this study, and they found that there's there's a list, but the most predictive piece of information that topped the whole study said that psychological safety is the #1 predictor of success on the teams. Wow. So what does that mean? Essentially, it's a space where the people on the team feel safe from the perspective as they can share their opinions. They feel like they can mess up and they won't be reprimanded for it. So it increased innovation and collaboration by almost 30%. It reduced turnover by 50%. They were having incredible results. I forget what the success rate was, but that was significant too. I think it was around 40%. So they're closing more deals, they're doing better business, all because the #1 reason is that their management in that department makes them feel safe and supported, and that they have room to use their imagination to expand their ideas and the things that they're doing in order to grow the business ultimately.
Yeah, sure.
That's huge.
Which would be a typical industry that you would sort of work with as such for sales?
I've worked with everything from financial services, SaaS companies, manufacturing, real estate. The way that we have it structured, it applies to every type of business. So we just copy and paste and adjust according to that certain business.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talking of real estate, that's a huge market within the UAE. Do you work with many real estate companies here in Dubai?
No real estate companies in Dubai just yet.
Okay. Wow, because that's obviously a huge market.
Yeah.
Real estate is going through the roof. So what conferences do you have in store for 2025 coming up?
Next month, in a couple of weeks, actually, I'm speaking at the Future Forward event for the Economic Times. I'm doing the keynote and a masterclass on how to create high-performance teams.
Wow.
That'll be great. That's almost 500 HR professionals that'll be showing up for that. So I'm on a mission to close some of that business.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's set for now. And then I'm working on a few. I might go to Saudi for LEAP. I'm waiting on confirmation. So still getting into the scene in the Middle East, but it's building.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Exciting times ahead.
It is, yeah, very.
Cool. Brilliant. So, what's it called? Sorry, what's it called? Your course, or?
I have an alignment mastery program. It's about accelerating income and influence. So the idea behind that is to internal and external alignment and communication. And I base this heavily on my career. We talked about networking.
Sure.
How can you network that much better when you meet someone and create great influence that it's not even a networking event? You met someone one time, you need to make an impression. If you're coming to meet anyone and you're aligned internally, meaning there's no disorder in your energetic field, I know that gets a little complicated, but we've created internal mind-body consciousness alignment, and we're clear, we're driven internally. The power and the energy is palpable when we show up. And then we understand how to communicate, meaning my body language, my nonverbal communication is 93% of how I communicate. But how many of us are doing things with our bodies and our facial expressions and our tone that hurts us and causes the person listening to lose maybe the view that we may be as powerful and the need to connect them to someone else, right? We do things sometimes that kind of hurts that impression. So we want to master those skills. And when 7% of the words that you use are relevant to your delivery, now I mess up my words all the time. I might forget the words. I've already done it today, where I forget the words, but it doesn't matter if the energy and the structure and the words don't need to be perfect. So, and when we understand that and we let go of that perfection syndrome, then we can start to accelerate our career. And I always tell people one of the most important things you can do, if you can do this, podcasts are great. However, if you can get on a stage. If you're in front of a room, it doesn't matter if there's 5, 10 people, get in front of the room, ask for it. Yeah. Request to be the person presenting. You do that a few times, they're now viewing you as the expert, the person that they should be speaking with. It gives you so much credibility that it accelerates your career. Yeah. So those presentation skills are so important. And you just have to get over yourself.
Of course. I agree with that, what you're saying regarding let's say you forget your words or you forget the script or something, and then people are always like, Rick, how is it you do what you do? So for instance, one of my biggest brands I work with is the Sigma Group, okay? We do conferences globally. Sigma, for instance, Malta has 30,000 people. Mm-hmm. So at one stage, you could be speaking in front of 5,000 people. So it's a lot of people. Yeah. And I mess up my words all the time, right? Sure. As well as it's public speaking comes along. And people are like, oh, what do you do if you forget what you're saying? I was like, no one knows what you're actually meant to be saying. Yeah. Right? So if you just continue, and like you say, if you've got the energy and you're delivering it in a manner... It'll just go, and you bring it back on track. It'll just keep flowing and flowing and flowing.
You know, they did a study where they took this attractive woman, and she had a blender, and she was trying to sell this blender, and she was making this juice. And the people that would come to watch her perform, blending these fruits, she basically did it perfectly the first time, and people had to rate how they felt about her. Yeah. Then they did a second group where where she spilled half of it, right? Like stumble is a mess. And the people rated her much more favorably the second time when she messed up, because now she's less perfect, she's more like me. She's, I can understand maybe that,
she makes mistakes as well.
Compassion for like being human. So it's okay to make mistakes, but we make it seem like I can't get in front of a room because I can't make a mistake. It's okay. Yeah. You can make a mistake. It's okay. You'll still be fine. Yeah.
No one's going to say, you've done that wrong. You messed up. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. 0x processing are focused mainly on two things: acceptance rate and security, achieving an unprecedented level by combining blockchain infrastructure with broad account security measures. 0x processing, a crypto payment gateway for your business. You was born in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Okay, moved to the US, spent most of your life within the United States. Yep. Now obviously moved to Dubai. What's your thoughts on Saudi Arabia, and where do you see it in the next 10 years?
I mean, I don't know how you can't be so excited for Saudi, for the direction that they're going. They're progressing aggressively. I think they want to not just catch up with Dubai, but supersede Dubai. Yeah. And I believe that they're they have the mentality of winning, and I don't believe there's a Saudi in the country that doesn't think that they should win over anyone else. So I believe that they're going to figure out how to make it happen, and obviously they're making strides in that direction. I actually just met with a good friend of mine that was here from Saudi, and he's incredibly connected. We're creating a joint partnership in order to build business between here and Saudi, and it's, already I have emails from him where we're moving forward on some conversations, and that just happened after this weekend. So,
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, I think the desire for growth and connection between what they're seeing here, and I think it's time for Saudi. They're ready.
But Riyadh and Jeddah are years and years behind Dubai. Let's face the facts, all right? It's completely different. It's going to take time. It's going to take time, and obviously. There is obviously a lot of changes that's happening within the UAE. One main topic that we discuss here a lot is gaming/gambling coming into play within the UAE.
Yeah.
Now, I believe alcohol's still frowned in Saudi, correct? So there's a lot of changes where I think that sort of UAE, Dubai are ahead of the game massively. What is your thoughts on gambling becoming regulated in the UAE?
I think it was inevitable. I mean, the world, it's such a huge business in the world. I mean, what is it? Is it trillions or what is it?
Well, last
Billions?
year, the online revenue alone was $800 billion.
Jeez, so
that
close.
Was online, not land-based.
Oh, wow. Okay. So saying a trillion was not absurd, thankfully.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that says it all. And anyone who's business-oriented, which this country clearly is implementing that in this country is not to use words that it's game changer, right?
It's game changer.
It's game changer.
Yeah.
This is going to make a huge difference in the country as far as like revenue for the country, and it's already doing exceptionally well. Now it's like on steroids.
For sure.
And Saudi for sure is going to follow, for sure.
I mean, imagine casinos and alcohol in Saudi Arabia.
For sure. If I were a betting person, I would bet that it is coming soon.
I think so. I think once the UAE regulator, I do think that Saudi will open its doors to a lot more. And obviously,
For sure.
I believe that obviously you're going to be able to start buying properties in Saudi Arabia, and it's only going to be a lot open. I mean, what they're doing, these crazy talks of that there's going to be a ski resort bigger than Austria. Have you seen these plans?
I haven't seen that one, no.
Okay.
But I've seen some others, and they're always bigger than whatever you can imagine. So, that's the mentality.
An outdoor ski resort that's going to be bigger than Austria in 55 degrees heat.
I can't even imagine what that is, but I want to go.
I want to be part of this.
I'm in for sure. Keep me in.
No. There's so much talk and so much hype, I think, obviously. So it is a big topic, like I say, that we discuss here. And if you look at the facts of it now, obviously, you're from the US. Las Vegas is America's playground.
Yeah.
Macau is Asia's playground. Now, what is in the middle? Ras Al Khaimah. And the reason why, it's just in my opinion, the reason why they are bringing the first land-based casino to Ras Al Khaimah is because they want to extend their Emirates and grow the Emirates out.
Yeah.
Because let's face the facts, there's not a lot in Sharjah. There's not a lot in Ras Al Khaimah, Fujairah.
Right.
They're not developed like Dubai. How do you think local Emiratis will accept this?
Of all the Emiratis that I know, they're very open-minded, and I haven't, from my experience, noticed any type of resistance. They're very welcoming and supportive of everything that's happening. So I think that they're on board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think that they sort of trust their government as well.
They do. I mean, how could you not?
Yeah,
What they did in 50 years is mind-blowing. Like, if you can't trust that, then you can't trust anything.
No, of course. Yeah, it is unbelievable what they're doing. And it is the best city in the world, in my opinion.
Hands down.
Yeah. So talking of governments, you are from the US. There's a lot of talk and a lot of hype what's happening at the moment. What's your thoughts on Donald Trump?
This is a very touchy subject for many people.
Many people, especially if you're an American as well.
And listen, he still gets a lot of judgment based on the way that he's presented himself in the past. But I have to say, I really appreciate like what he just did recently. I mean, he just put tariffs on Colombia because they refused to accept the flights of the people coming in. They sent people back that were immigrants that didn't have papers. So when they turned back the planes, Donald slapped a 30% tariff on the country. I mean, he's like, you're not messing with me, right?
Yeah.
So I have to respect the backbone that he has where he makes it clear, like, you don't mess with the country. You know, if we decide something and you go against what we say, then we're going to make it very clear that it's not going to be an easy decision for you in the future.
Of course. He's done more deals. I mean, this is media, but done more deals than what Biden did. He did more deals in one day than Biden did in 4 years, apparently.
It's crazy. I mean, he's on a mission, and I really believe that. I know some people think that maybe he's not as good of a person. His intentions are more political, but I really believe on the side that he is not a typical politician, and therefore, because of that reason, he has more interest in actually making a difference, and he's doing it.
I believe that, well, not believe, facts is that the US is in serious crisis, right? Crime rate through the roof is
horrible.
serious debt,
Scary.
in serious debt. Europe is the same. It's serious crisis, right? People could say it's beyond help.
Yeah.
I believe Donald Trump has got serious values. His values are good. I don't believe in everything he says, but I think his values for the American people are there, and I think they're in a good way. But either way, you've got 4 years to decide now, and I mean, they've already tried to execute him apparently. So I mean.
You know how the Simpsons always predict the future?
Do you believe this?
Have you seen every Simpsons ever that's predicted everything?
Or do they just sketch these Simpsons
they're released
afterwards?
before. All of this is released before. That's why it's crazy.
Are they? I mean,
anyway, they predicted him as president in a coffin. I really hope that doesn't happen.
And they predicted, and the submarine that went down to the Titanic, they predicted that as well. Remember that?
There was a long list of things they predicted.
But I always think this, I always see it and they're like, oh, the Simpsons prejudge this, it's part of the Illuminati, etc. And I'm like, but did they just sketch these Simpsons up afterwards?
They're released before it happens, sometimes years and years before.
Yeah.
And like even 9/11, like there's a lot of things, a lot.
I mean, I could really touch subjects on 9/11, but I'm not going to go into that.
Let's
But
not.
that's not.
That's definitely.
But that's, I mean. So you're basically saying that the world, the Illuminati, used the Simpsons as a tool
I didn't say anything about the Illuminati. Let's just make that clear.
But that's what they're saying. That's fine.
That's what they say. It's not what I'm saying.
Of course.
I'm just saying they predict a lot of things. And
there are theories that
hopefully
it is a cartoon sketch on this is how the world portrays itself.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, 2025. What does 2025 hold for Rola Diab?
What does it hold?
What's the long-term vision moving in on your career, and what do you vision to see coming for the coming future?
I mean, my main goal is getting on more stages in the Middle East, really expanding here. I've built a team so that I'm not the one having to go into businesses and, deliver. So the team is now in charge of sales, operations, performance, negotiation. We've got someone for all of the above. And so growing that team is the goal, and expanding and collaborating with different businesses. I'm building JV partnerships with different companies that, they have their roster of businesses, and we can trade and kind of sit like as a joint venture that supports each other. So those are looking really good. I've Dr. Abdullah Kablan, who's like one of the godfathers of AI. Him and I have joint venture to create a platform in AI. He's got a PhD and 2 exits, and very, very impressive human being.
Wow.
So we're working on a project together to support the business world from a sales perspective and a consulting perspective in AI.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That is another big topic. I mean, AI technology, obviously Dubai are opening up to these emerging tech industries.
Yes.
So Have you brought your clients from the US, or have you picked new clients since you've been here?
Yeah, no, completely different.
Completely different.
I have a company in the US and then opened it under the same company here. So yeah, everything in the Middle East is Middle East based, and anything I do there is under the other company.
Okay, incredible.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense otherwise.
So one more question before we wrap things up, and I think it's quite an important question because there's a lot of hype around it at the moment. What's your thoughts on cryptocurrency?
I mean, it looks solid and it seems like it's going to do something significant. I mean, if I were a betting person, okay, I would say that one of those, if not a couple, are going to make people a lot of money. Which ones? I don't know, but I've invested a little bit here and there, so we'll see.
So you're saying if you was a betting person, so is crypto gambling?
I mean, it depends on your perspective. You know, you're hoping that something turns out in a certain way. There's no absolute evidence that it will. It's not 100%. So it could be viewed as gambling, right?
Yeah.
But the market is gambling, right?
Okay.
So, yeah, I think that you just have to be okay with losing if you potentially could lose.
Sounds like a gamble.
Yeah.
So obviously you're a businesswoman. You work in obviously sales performance. You work in corporate entities, okay? Now, obviously, cryptocurrency is an unregulated market, okay? So a lot different to companies that you kind of work with, all right? And obviously, crypto is portrayed on a hype. Okay?
Right.
Now, what is the future in that?
The future in crypto? I mean, this is not my world. This is a question I should ask you.
Of course, but what do you think the future is in? Obviously, it is unregulated. I'm asking you from actually a businesswoman that's in corporate world. What do you think the future is in an unregulated market? How do you see that?
I think it's ultimately they're gonna find a way to regulate it. I mean, it's unregulated today, but I don't believe it's gonna stay that way. I mean, as much as you can possibly regulate crypto, I think that's the direction it's ultimately gonna go in. But it's hard for me to say.
But you have invested in crypto?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you make money or lose money?
So far, made a little bit.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So there's a gain there. There's a gain there.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Listen, it's been great having you on the show. All right. Thank you for some great insights. I thought the networking opinion was great. I've been learning some stuff myself.
Yeah.
Like I say, thank you for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure having you, and all the best for 2025.
Thank you.
For your sales and operationals performance. Check out Rola Diab. It's actually Rola Speaks.
It is on Instagram.
On Instagram. Check out Rola Speaks on Instagram. To all of our viewers here at Bet Talks, thank you, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Woo!
That was quick.
That was good.